Hey guys, Gizmodit here, and this is my review of the Asus Zenfone 3. So Asus has launched quite a few phones under the Zenfone 3 lineup, and it definitely gets quite confusing if you ask me. You've got the Zenfone 3 Max, the Zenfone 3 Laser, the Zenfone 3 5.2 inch, the Zenfone 3 5.5 inch, and whatnot. I have been using this Zenfone 3 5.2 inch since the past 15 to 20 days. It's got 3 GB of RAM, 32 GB of storage, and it comes with a very steep price of 22,000 rupees. So is this phone worth buying? Let's find out. When you look at the Zenfone 3 for the first time, you won't be able to make out that it is an Asus phone. Gone is the plastic body and that signature Zenfone chin. What you get now is an impressively designed phone that's made out of glass and metal. Asus seems to have taken some cues from Samsung, as this new Zenfone feels very similar to the Galaxy S6 that I was using earlier. That's a good thing though, as the Zenfone 3 feels really rich and premium to use. The build quality is top notch, right down to the small things like the power button and the volume rockers, which are solidly made. The glass body has a concentric circular design, and overall the phone looks very beautiful and feels very nice to use in one hand. The fingerprint reader, which is a first for a Zenfone, is at the back below the camera, and it gets the job done quite well. The only gripe that I have with the design of this phone is that there's a small camera bump at the back, so the phone does not sit flush on its back. Also, the glass body attracts fingerprints, a lot of fingerprints, so make sure that you keep a microfiber cloth handy. Apart from that, kudos to Asus in the build quality department, as this was a much needed change in the Zenfone lineup. Like on the outside, Asus has changed a few things on the inside as well. If you remember, all of the Asus flagships used to come with an Intel processor. That's gone now, and Asus has finally made the switch to Qualcomm CPUs. So the Zenfone 3 gets a Snapdragon 625 CPU with 3 GB of RAM and 32 GB of built-in storage. The storage is expandable using a hybrid SIM slot, and the larger Zenfone 3 gets 4 GB of RAM and 64 GB of storage. Snapdragon 625 is sort of a mid-range CPU, but the performance of the Zenfone 3 has been impressive. I was able to manage day-to-day tasks on this phone, and it could handle games like Nova 3, so performance should not be an issue. The phone glides through the Zen UI, and I honestly haven't faced any major lags or frame drops while using it. Talking about the Zen UI, it's that one thing which hasn't really changed on the Zenfone. It still looks ugly according to me, and Asus, as always, loves to install bloatware on it. Thankfully, all of this does not affect the performance of the phone, and the Zen UI does have some useful features like double tap to wake and sleep, which I use quite often. The theme store is also quite cool with a lot of options now, but I still would have preferred stock Android on this phone, and this is one area where Asus needs to focus a lot more. Camera performance is one of the things where the previous Zen phones have really been disappointing. Thankfully, the Zenfone 3 is not disappointing, and the 16 and the 8 megapixel shooters on this phone do their job quite well. The camera UI is impressive with a lot of modes, including a full fledged manual mode, and you can also record videos in 4K this time. When it comes to the image quality, I have to say the Zenfone 3 does a very decent job. Images in daylight have good amount of details, but the camera tends to overexpose a bit. The color reproduction is good as well, but when you put it against the OnePlus 3, you do notice that the saturation is a bit less on the Zenfone 3. It is a little difficult to focus on close objects in auto mode, but the manual mode works really well in such situations. The depth of field is really good in the macro shots, and in fact, you also have a dedicated bokeh effect mode which works quite well at times. In indoor lighting, some amount of noise creeps into the pictures, but the performance in indoor as well as low lighting conditions is satisfactory. In extremely dimly lit scenarios, the camera uses a longer shutter speed, which results in some blurry shots. You do get in more light compared to the phones like the OnePlus 3, but the output is a bit shaky, so you need to keep a very steady hand. Keeping similar settings on the OnePlus 3 gave a better output as compared to the Zenfone 3, because the Zenfone 3 produces warmer images in low lighting. Overall, it is a good camera for the price. It is better than the ZUK Z2, but it's not as good as the OnePlus 3. In terms of display, there's a 5.2-inch 1080p screen which gets the job done quite well. Visibility in direct sunlight is impressive, and Asus has done some changes to the display here because it looks a lot better than the previous generation Zenphones. The color reproduction is good, the viewing angles are nice, and at 5.2 inches, it's compact enough to use in one hand. The Zenfone 3 5.2 also gets a 2650 mAh of battery, which although feels inadequate is quite impressive. I could easily get through a full day with anywhere between 4 to 5 hours of screen on time. In fact, I even managed 6 hours once, but in real world usage, it will get you anywhere between 4 to 5 hours. That's all down to the power efficient Snapdragon 625. What's missing here though is a fast charging adapter. After being used to OnePlus's dash charging, the charging on the Zenfone 3 feels very slow, and I really think that Asus should have provided a fast charging adapter inside the box. Call quality and network reception was good as well. This phone supports VoLTE and Geo SIM cards will work fine on it. So the Zenfone 3 is a really impressive phone. It looks gorgeous, performs well, has a good camera, good display and an impressive battery life. So shouldn't it be the best phone in its segment? Well, the answer is a big no because Asus has completely messed up the pricing of this phone. The Zenfone 3 5.2 sells for 22,000 rupees in India, whereas the 5.5 inch is priced at 28,000 rupees. I mean, just think about it for a second. For 18,000 you can get the Lenovo Z2 Plus, which has a Snapdragon 820. That's a flagship chip as compared to the Zenfone 3 Snapdragon 625. And for 28,000 rupees you can get the OnePlus 3, which is currently the best Android phone under 30,000 rupees. There are also some other options like the Lumax 2 or the Xiaomi Mi 5 which are equally cheap, and both of them have a Snapdragon 820. So I don't know what Asus was thinking because we have a very price sensitive market and the pricing can make or break your product. If this one was priced at around 16 to 17,000, then it would have made a lot more sense. The Zenfone 3 is a great phone, but it's not a value for money device as of now. With that said, you can still buy it if you want to, but personally I would not buy the phone at this price. That wraps up my Zenfone 3 review. If you guys liked watching it, then do show your support by liking and sharing this video. Please subscribe for more upcoming reviews by clicking the red subscribe button below the video. Thanks for watching and I will see you guys in the next video.